Coaches' rankings continue right here at the Voice of College Football. We knocked out numbers 51 through 69. Why 69? Well, that's the number of coaches in the Power Four. We have separated, as of 2023, our rankings for the Group of Five versus the Power coaches for a good reason. The disparity in competition and what is expected of them is so vastly different. All right, let's continue with our Power Four coaches rankings. We pick it up at number 50. Please like the video and subscribe. Here we go. Kalani Sitake at BYU. Experience what all the newcomers to the Big 12 experienced in 2023. It's a whole different level of football. BYU is consistently under his direction. Look at the record. They've been ranked in the top 25 a few times. They have consistently been a top 40 type program, but 2 wins and 7 losses in the Big 12 this past season. BYU is going to have to add superior athletes, more depth. It's a work in progress for this BYU program entering the Big 12. Kalani Sitake, though, a consistent winner, has done a remarkable job there, and we expect him to succeed eventually in the new Big 12. At number 50 on our list, Kalani Sitake. I sure hope Joey McGuire can forgive me. I think he can understand my criticism of Texas Tech hiring him as head coach 2 seasons ago. It's not like I said he's going to fail. I just didn't know who the guy was. And you would think a Power 5 program could do better than a linebacker coach from Baylor. But maybe they couldn't do better, and maybe they didn't want to do better because Joey McGuire's doing a fine job with the Red Raiders. There is difficulty recruiting to Lubbock. And there is now the increased competition of the likes of Utah, Arizona State, and Colorado coming to the Big 12. McGuire's done a nice job. He's 2-0 in bowl games. Outcoached Lane Kiffin 2 seasons ago in the Texas Bowl. Another win over Cal. 8-5, 7-6. Joey McGuire, nice job considering quarterback injuries and uncertainty, inconsistent play at that position last year. Still finished with a winning record and a bowl victory. At number 49 in our coaches' rankings, Joey McGuire, Red Raiders. Manny Diaz's stint as a Miami head coach wasn't as bad as a lot of people think. Consider this. He went 21-15 in 3 seasons. He took over a program from Mark Richt that was doing well, winning games, playing fairly well, had a top 13 finish in 2017, had a decent roster, top 15 in the country, something in that range. He basically took over the same program from a talent and roster standpoint that Mario Cristobal took over from him. And Mario Cristobal's 12-13 in 2 years at Miami. Manny Diaz, again, 21-15, learned on the job, of course, had accepted that head coaching job at Temple, but when Miami comes calling, he was only at Temple about 10 days. He was thrown into the fire, and that's what he wanted, and it didn't work out. But now he gets a second shot after an impressive defensive coordinator stint at Penn State. He's got Malik Murphy at quarterback at Duke. He's got a shot at the ACC. He can exact some revenge on Miami. Manny Diaz, certainly we've seen this in the past where guys have been young head coaches, needed to learn at a stop, get another shot, then they take off because they learn so much. He's been under James Franklin for the last few years. Some folks may chuckle about that, but he could certainly learn something from James Franklin about building a program. At number 48 on our coaches' rankings, Duke's Manny Diaz. Keep in mind that this is not a legacy ranking. This is ranking the coaches right this second. Of course, we can't tie it all to the 2023 performance. Take a guy like Dave Clawson, excellent football coach. They had a bad season at 4-8. We're not going to go crazy one end of the spectrum to the other for one season, but it is an in-the-moment ranking. And in the moment, Coach Prime is probably the most recognizable name and face in college football, but he's number 47 on our list. What a magical September it was for this program. Right out of the gate against TCU, they win a thriller. Then they win another game against Nebraska. And then they have that remarkable night against Colorado State when 10 million people watched Colorado football late night on ESPN. And Coach Prime had 60 Minutes calling him. He had celebrities all over the place. He was the guy. He was the man. Of course, he's still the man, but he's 4-8, the man, after losing all but one game down the stretch. Colorado's got a long way to go. Jedd Sanders is back at quarterback. He's got guys like Cormani McClain and other playmakers in position. And of course, arguably the best player in college football in Travis Hunter. Depth. It's about depth, toughness, physicality. Deion Sanders proved he could coach at Jackson State. Is he going to hang around to complete the mission in Colorado? Right now, I've got him rated as the 47th coach in college football. Who in the world doesn't like Shane Beamer? Even non-Gamecock fans tend to like this guy. He's likable. That's all there is to it. He can relate to young players. He's one of this new wave of coaches. He does the videos. He does the skits. He does the fun little pranks. But he's got to win. Shane Beamer took over for Will Muschamp, who was not winning, and took a team that had to play 4 quarterbacks in his first season and went 7-6 and defeated Mac Brown in a bowl game. And he got mayo dumped all over his head, but he didn't mind because, again, he's that kind of coach. The next season, 8-4 looked good. They lost a thrilling bowl game in the Gator to Notre Dame with Spencer Rattler at quarterback, and much was expected this past season, but one Shane Beamer has yet to fortify this roster as a true SEC caliber roster that is going to be physical in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Depth is needed. Disappointing 5-7 finish for Shane Beamer in South Carolina drops him from 29 to 46. We go from a likable head coach to oh, come on, I don't want to be hard on Pat Narduzzi. His mom might be watching. Pat Narduzzi at Pitt, the 45th ranked coach in college football, according to the Voice of College Football, dropping from number 33 after a horrendous, which really nobody saw coming, 3-9 record. 2 previous seasons, they win the ACC. Who wins the ACC but Clemson? Oh yeah, Florida State. But Pitt won the ACC in 2021. They followed it up with 9-4. He had the best run in the Coastal Division during his time there. He lifted Pitt football to its best run, its best position in the rankings in terms of win-loss percentage since going all the way back to the mid to late 1980s for a proud historic program. Pat Narduzzi, of course, cut his chops at Michigan State under Mark D'Antonio on the defensive side of the ball. He has built a defensive front there that continually ranks in the top 2 or 3 in the nation in sacks. But it all came tumbling down this last season. There were some grumblings from the players about how they were handled. We'll see if Pat Narduzzi can rebound, because one more rough finish, especially consider that he's not the most likable off the field, could spell trouble for him as Pitt is looking for a final stop if the ACC implodes. At number 45 on our coaches' rankings, Pat Narduzzi, Pitt. Tulane and Willie Fritz is the perfect example of why sometimes if you are committed to a particular coach, he has sold you as being the right guy, that despite the results, despite the record, despite it not coming together as quickly as you would like, you stay with him. At Tulane, they had some bad seasons. Shoot, they had a 2-10 year just a couple years ago. Willie Fritz goes from 2-10 in 2021 to a Power 5 job here just a few years later. But before that, he lifted Tulane from a 3 or 4 win program to consistently getting to bowl games. Had that down 2-10 season, bounces right back, wins the Cotton Bowl, and finishes in the New Year's 6 with a 12-2 team, and then follows that up to show, okay, I've established something here. I just didn't catch lightning in a bottle. I have built this program to a place where we're going to go to bowl games, and now we're going to be arguably the elite of the group of 5. It's kind of funny now that he coaches a former group of 5 that was in the same conference, but elevates to the Big 12 at Houston. Willie Fritz, exceptional coach, great reputation. Everybody likes him, and he knows what he's doing. And he now will lead the Houston Cougars as a much different leader than Dana Holgorsen. At number 44 in our coaches' rankings, Willie Fritz, Houston. A lot of likable coaches in this section of our Voice of College Football coaches' rankings. And you can put this guy near the top of the list. Sam Pittman walked into a situation where he either was going to fail because Chad Morris left him nothing, or he was going to be a hero because anybody in comparison to Chad Morris at Arkansas would be a hero. Arkansas was at its lowest ebb in forever, and I mean forever, under Chad Morris. Sam Pittman takes over, and they're instantly good. And he is just an offensive line coach. That's his only resume. Never a coordinator, never a head coach. But Arkansas football was transformed in 2020. Then they take off with a 9-4 season and a bowl victory against Penn State the following season. Topsy-turvy performance in 2022 at 7-6. They won that crazy 53-52 game against Kansas. But Arkansas is losing players. They have left the guy that has carried the program on offense for the entirety of Sam Pittman's tenure, and that's KJ Jefferson. He goes to UCF. What is Arkansas football about right now, coming off an embarrassing 4-8 season, a lot of blowout losses? Sam Pittman, Arkansas at the crossroads. Certainly he was much higher in our rankings prior to this offseason. At number 43, Sam Pittman. Pig suey. I said this about the Joey McGuire hire at Texas Tech. I said the same thing about Michael Locksley at Maryland. Maryland, why did you hire Mike Locksley? Well, we now know why they hired him. Yes, he was retooled in the wayward coaches program there with Nick Saban in Alabama. But look at what he did in New Mexico. I just didn't get it. I thought, you're a Big Ten team. You're a top 40 to 50 program in America. You can do better than this. He not only had on-field but off-field issues multiple times in New Mexico. But Mike Locksley has proved me wrong. He is coming off 3 consecutive bowl wins. 3 consecutive for the first time in program history. They went 8-5. Sure, there is still that barrier that he can't break through, starting with Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, and now it's going to be the entire upper echelon of the Big Ten since there is no East versus West. But Maryland's in a great place, and they should be able to continue to win. Great recruiting base there in the DMV and beyond, and Mike Locksley has turned the corner with his program. He has stabilized it. He's shown that we're going to play really good football. We're not just going to beat up on Rutgers and Indiana and then get blown out by everyone else. They were mighty competitive the last 2 years against both Ohio State and Michigan. Couldn't win either game those 4 trips, though. Michael Locksley doing a nice job at Maryland at number 42 on our list. Hugh Freeze, prove it to me. I know you can coach. I know you can lead a program. Just look at Liberty for the last 4 seasons, 34-15. Nice run at Liberty. You set yourself up for the big job at Ole Miss by what you did at Arkansas State. I get it that you know what you're doing to a certain extent, but this is your second shot in the big time. And the first one, I'm not buying. You cheated all over the place. On the field, off the field, all over the place. The recruiting was, yes. And now you've got the opportunity at Auburn, and with NIL, hey, there is no cheating. So let's show what you can do. 6-7 in his first season at Auburn, and this is an offensive guy. And Auburn's passing game was abysmal, so he's going to prove much by getting something out of this passing attack. He brings it in a top 10 recruiting class, but this passing attack needs to be markedly better to show that he knows what he's doing. You should be able to diagnose issues, get the right guy in play. If he's not on campus, you got a transfer portal. Hugh Freeze, you need to make bold moves and show that you can lead an SEC championship contending program, which is Auburn has been multiple times in the last 20 or 25 years. At number 41 on our coaches' rankings, Hugh Freeze. War Eagle. Going into 2023, Barry Odom, who had been fired at Missouri, had a better record at Mizzou than Eli Drinkwitz. Eli Drinkwitz, though, it's kind of our theme of our second edition of our coaches' rankings, is a likable guy. If you're going to have an adult beverage or whatever your choice is with one of these coaches, who's it going to be with? Eli Drinkwitz would be high on the list. But that doesn't cut it in the SEC. But he finally found the magic formula, and it's about recruiting, and he's still recruiting his pants off there as we go forward in this 2025 recruiting cycle. Eli Drinkwitz, 11-2 season, and found the defensive coordinator who's now off to LSU. So filling that role, getting that side of the football taken care of on a regular annual basis is going to be a challenge. Does have his quarterback coming back. He's now having to face two more elites in the SEC with Oklahoma and Texas, and he's definitely operating at a decided disadvantage at Mizzou considering the recruiting, but he's overcoming it the last couple recruiting cycles. Eli Drinkwitz, he's impressive. When you hear him talk, it's fun to hear him talk. You would love to have a conversation with the guy, but he doesn't sound hard-nosed enough to win in the SEC. But you know what? He did it last year at 11-2, challenged Georgia, had a really good football team, won the Cotton Bowl. Do it again, though, Eli. You're number 40, up from number 52 in our coaches' rankings, right here at the Voice of College Football. If we were going to rank these coaches simply on what they did on the field, considering talent, considering resources, considering circumstances, and that's it. And there was no name recognition. There was no past history. It was just the 2023 season. This guy, objectively, could be argued as the best coach in college football. And I've got him at number 39. I think you'll understand. He is David Braun of Northwestern. Pat Fitzgerald's a really good football coach who did really well in these rankings through the years. Now, he took a hit recently, obviously, because of the just deplorable finishes by this Northwestern team in 4 of the last 6 seasons. But he left David Braun a 1-11 football program, and then, of course, scandal. And it appeared as though players would scatter. And we were looking at the Northwestern schedule saying, they play Wagner, so they will win that game. And that might be it. They may go 1-11. They're not going to win a Big Ten game. That's what most people determined. And had we known before the season started that they would defeat Wagner by 3 points, then I think we all would say, see, they're not going to win another game. It is remarkable. I cannot in any way give it justice, the explanation of what David Braun accomplished with Northwestern. It was the best coaching job in college football. Mike Elko turned in the best one with Sonny Dykes in 2022. 2023, it's David Braun, but it's just 1 year. And it wasn't like he was the previous defensive coordinator who had been there for 58 years, a zillion years, Mike Hankwitz, and taking over, okay, I understand the lay of the land. I know the university, the campus. I have all these relationships with administrators. I am entrenched here, and people trust me and all that. No. He was a first-year defensive coordinator, took over. Northwestern went 8-5 and won a bowl game. I can't get over it. I'll keep talking for the next hour, but I'm just going to stop right there and say number 39 on our list. We would have never seen this coming a few months ago. David Braun, Northwestern. With what this guy has accomplished or failed to accomplish in 2 seasons, there is no way, just based on that he is the number 38 coach in college football. He's more like the number 69 coach. Remember what I said in the last video, and check out the last video, number 69 down to 51, that all the new head coaches aren't necessarily going to be at the bottom of the list, because if a coach is underachieving, then I will rank them below a new coach who has done nothing. And this guy at his current stop is not doing a good job. But I'm going back to Oregon, and I'm going to recruiting. And of course, I'm talking about Mario Cristobal at Miami. 5-7, 7-6, game management 101, and he'd be 8-5. All right, we know that. He is recruiting his tail off, though. They had the number 3 or 4 recruiting class in 2024. His first class was number 7 in the country. And yes, if this was year 4, 5, I would discount that and say recruiting classes don't matter, prove it on the field. But he is still building his program. He's still putting the pieces in play. Now, he was left with top 15 talent, and that's where I don't completely get on board with this whole reclamation project business, because by and large, the vast majority of coaches that eventually succeed at a big job don't take time. They don't take time to succeed. They step on campus and get the job done immediately. They show marked improvement immediately. And with Mario Cristobal, that's not been the case. And again, he was not necessarily handed Lance Leipold type situation, Lance Leipold situation at Kansas, that he had to fix anything. Yes, it needs fixed, needs upgraded, but I got to say, it's awfully disturbing, the Mario Cristobal results here in 2 years. But recruiting out of his mind, he won at Oregon. Don't discount what he accomplished there, winning a couple Pac-12 championships and a Rose Bowl. So at number 38, down from 31, Mario Cristobal, the U. Is there a university out there that has erected a statue to a coach with a losing record? Well, the State School of New Jersey might be the first. Greg Schiano is Mr. Rutgers. What a job he did in the 2000s lifting Rutgers to prominence within the Big East. He leaves for various stops at Ohio State and in the NFL as head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He comes back to Rutgers. They were in the midst of a 21-game Big Ten losing streak, and most of those games were awfully embarrassing. Greg Schiano knows what he's doing. He's a remarkable coach, and he has a plan, and he knows what he needs to do with the current talent and how to build it through recruiting. My only question here is they are so limited on offense, and based on his approach and the way he likes to play football and the way he believes he needs to play football in that conference to stay competitive, will they ever get past where they are right now? Just turned in a 7-6 season with a bowl victory against Miami. Greg Schiano doing a heck of a job at Rutgers, and he's number 37 on our list. Bill O'Brien has a reputation for being tough, but also kind of surly, not always likable. Don't let that get in the way of what he accomplished at Penn State and even in the NFL with the Houston Texans, where that franchise was lost. They never accomplished anything. He steps in and they go to the playoffs, I believe, 4 out of 6 seasons. And no, he did not have success in the postseason, but Bill O'Brien, heck of a job with the Houston Texans. Great job at Penn State, picking up for the mess that was there. Do you remember 10 or 12 years ago what was going on at Penn State? We can't forget. But the aftermath from a football standpoint, and yes, the sanctions were pulled back. He had an opportunity to do something. He kept the players there. He recruited to a place that couldn't go to postseason football. 7-5, 8-4 at Penn State. Bill O'Brien is one of the smarter football coaches in college football. Now he goes to Boston College, and much like Greg Schiano, who we just talked about at Rutgers, he's got the challenge of recruiting in that area. That's one of the more difficult places to recruit to because there's not much talent in the Northeast against an ACC with the likes of Clemson, Florida State, Miami, and others. Bill O'Brien, offensive mind, strong personality, should do a good job in Boston College. Our number 36 coach, Bill O'Brien, BC. We continue our coaches' rankings right here at the Voice of College Football. Please like and subscribe. Also, when you shop Amazon, use the link that we provide in the description section of all the videos. It's transparent to you. It's the one way that you can financially contribute here at the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. Please use the link. It's transparent to you. Same shopping experience. I have trouble ranking this next guy. I like him. I think he knows what he's doing. He certainly has come across some controversy in his life, not for any kind of off-field issues, but his mouth gets in the way, and he doesn't mind. I don't mind. It's harmless. Bret Bielema of Illinois. Great stint at Wisconsin, but it was set up by Barry Alvarez and all that he accomplished. 68-24 for Bielema, 3 Big Ten titles, 3 Rose Bowls. He goes to Arkansas, takes over a bad football program, had to retool the roster. Even before he had an opportunity to do that, they were just markedly better, and they were getting better and better and better each season. Check out the record, the results. They were getting better every year. Then they ran into a buzzsaw near the end of that I'm losing track of years, 16-17 season. They were having a nice season at 7-2, 7-3. Gave up some big leads late. And then he had one down season at Arkansas. One bad year, 4-8. He gets fired. He finds himself in the NFL. He says he's learned from some of the best there with the Giants and, of course, Bill Belichick with the Patriots. Illinois had a better team 2 years ago than what the record would indicate at 8-5. They took Michigan to the final play of the game. They lost the bowl game on the final play of the game. They should have played in the Big Ten championship game. He's not recruiting at Illinois, and he's in a tough spot. The fan base is not with him, and I'm not talking about with him personally. They're not with Illinois football. He doesn't have the level of fan base and fan support and administration and resources and all that he truly needs to compete in the Big Ten. With UCF's entry into the Big 12, of course, Gus Malzahn is back in major college football. Did he do a good job at Auburn? Well, right out of the gate, he took them within 10 seconds of a national championship. In 2017, he was on the brink of getting into the college football playoff, but otherwise, a ton of 8-5 finishes. And Auburn should be better than that. Gus Malzahn moves on to UCF, turned in a couple good seasons, but now he's running into that Big 12 barrier. Got to retool the roster, add depth, improve elite talent in certain areas to be able to compete. I believe that he will. Gus Malzahn, an offensive guru, and the 34th ranked coach in our Voice of College Football coaches rankings. Sonny Dykes and TCU football. Is it what they showed in 2022 or in 2023? I'm guessing it's somewhere in between. Sonny Dykes has had a bit of an up and down career, although most of the positive is more recent. Nice run at SMU. And of course has done a fine job at TCU through 2 seasons. The national championship game appearance highlighting his career at this point. Sonny Dykes knows offensive football. He develops quarterbacks. He's a great leader in regards to a guy that people respect and like as a likable guy. Sonny Dykes now in a new Big 12 should be able to. There is no elite programs out there that you've got to try to take down. Everybody generally in that same third tier class. So Sonny Dykes has an opportunity here to do something with TCU football long term. Just days before taking the University of Washington head coaching position, Jedd Fisch told Jim Rome, "I'm here at Arizona. Don't worry about the contract negotiations that are just kind of hanging out there, that I've not been extended, that I've not signed for more years. This is where I want to be." We've heard that before, and now we just most recently hear it from Jedd Fisch. Now he's got an opportunity at Washington, but he has big, big shoes to fill, doesn't he? Jedd Fisch did a heck of a job at Arizona, considering that they had 2 high-profile coaches before him. Rich Rod did a decent job, a marginal, mediocre job. Off-the-field issues, recruiting violations, went to some bowl games, was generally a 500 coach there. Kevin Sumlin was lost and left Jedd Fisch nothing. His first team was markedly better than Kevin Sumlin's first team or last team, and that one went 1-11 for Fisch, but at least they were competitive for part of the season. Then we saw the upward climb to 5-7. Last year's team was extremely close to making a push for the college football playoff. They went 10-3, and they were right there if you really look at the early season results in terms of the games that they lost. Jedd Fisch, offensive mind, has always been considered one of the better guys in terms of scheming and offense in all of college football. He now takes over at Washington, where he's going to be able to most likely recruit better and will need to in the Big Ten. At number 32 on our list, Jedd Fisch, Washington. The next coach in our coaches' rankings has been the head coach for all of 3 games. And he's ranked ahead of 38 Power 5 coaches. He sure is, because those 3 wins were against Penn State, Maryland, and Ohio State. He is, of course, Sherrone Moore, and he is a big reason why Michigan owns 3 consecutive Big Ten championships and a national championship. Not only evaluate that he was able to get the job done on the sideline, despite Harbaugh still being the coach during the week, so there have been other situations in which the head coach was removed from the program for the entirety of the time. So Sherrone Moore was still leaning on Harbaugh during the week, but hey, got pushed out there on game day and had to get the job done, make the tough decisions, manage the game, and lead the team. Again, the 3 best, most important, most difficult games of the year, and he got it done. What impresses me even more than that is, number one, he led an offensive line that was arguably the best in the nation. Joe Moore, award-winning offensive line before that. And even more so than that is that 3 excellent football coaches who have moved on, who have been successful, who led this team to a national championship and moved on to the NFL, given a stint to coach those first 3 games in Harbaugh's absence to start the season. So Sherrone Moore was up against tough competition to begin with. But when the rubber hit the road against Penn State and Harbaugh was yanked back by the Big Ten and suspended, who did Michigan choose? Sherrone Moore. Whole new coaching staff, but with Michigan ties. That is a smart move on his part. All those coaching changes that he made, I cannot knock any of them. Excellent motivator. The players love him. He's fired up, and he's ready to roll. And we will see now what he does going forward. He's already shown that he wants to expand the boundaries of recruiting and be a national recruiting giant. He's number 31 on our list. He is Michigan's first-year head coach, Sherrone Moore. In 2 seasons at Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman has won 19 games and lost 7. It might as well have been Brian Kelly there in terms of results. But the Notre Dame fan base loves this guy, and for good reason. We knew that there would be some growing pains, and he showed them early in the 2022 seasons. But going forward, I think most of us pretty optimistic about Marcus Freeman and what he could possibly accomplish at Notre Dame. It's a good look. He represents the university well. He relates to players. He relates to everybody. Marcus Freeman doing a heck of a job. It's a solid program. But now what? Time to deliver big wins against big opponents. Marcus Freeman, our number 30 coach in our rankings. Brent Venables is one of the great defensive minds in college football. He leaves Clemson, finally finds a job that he wanted to take as the head man. And this is a guy that turned down Auburn. So he was very selective, but comes back to Oklahoma, where he authored some of the great defenses in the early 2000s. Now, why was Oklahoma such a deplorable unit on that side of the football his first season? I didn't understand that, and I criticized him for that, to say, if somebody's a defensive guru, how can, even though he's not been able to bring in his players yet, why would he not improve them decidedly on that side of the football? It didn't happen, and Oklahoma lost 7 football games. But Brent Venables was committed to strength and conditioning and making Oklahoma a tough football team. And that was not the reputation, and probably not the reality under Lincoln Riley. He turns it around to go 10-3. The performance, the effort, the focus, the passion that they showed in particular against Texas was awfully impressive. Now the next challenge is, of course, winning in the SEC. Our number 29 coach in all of college football, according to the Voice of College Football, Brent Venables, OU. We hear the term program builder all the time. This guy is a program builder. He did it at Temple. He did it at Baylor, won a Big 12 championship, off to the NFL. Different story. He now says, I'm a college coach. I don't know if he conveniently says that because of what happened in Charlotte, but regardless, coaches say what they need to say, and Matt Rhule is saying all the right things, and I believe at this point doing the right things in improving a Nebraska football program that is in an extremely unique situation based on the expectations being what they are at places like Ohio State and Alabama and Georgia and fill in the blank. But because of the recruiting challenges, the location in the country, difficult to win. Nebraska football has been an embarrassment since 2016. They've not gone to a bowl game. They've got the longest bowl drought of anyone. And if you would have closed your eyes or not known, you would have thought Scott Frost was on the sideline for their games last year. They were better. That's all there is to it. Their team was blowing games before. the quarterback position was just so bad last year. First of all, with Jeff Sims making more mistakes than any quarterback in the country. And then with Chuppa Purdy and Heinrich Harburg just being limited at that position. So a lot of one-score losses. Should have went to a bowl game. Should have been able to beat somebody like a Maryland, Wisconsin, somebody down the stretch. Iowa couldn't get the job done. So Matt Rhule, any first season should really be evaluated but not taken into harsh consideration based on record. He went 5-7. This team looks like they should, against this schedule, win 8 ball games this year. At number 28 on our list, Matt Rhule, GBR. Matt Campbell must love it in Ames, Iowa. He has decided to stay there despite being at one point the hottest commodity in college football. He is no longer the hottest commodity in college football, but he is one damn good football coach. Iowa State has never won anything. Yes, they've had short little spurts of 8-4 through the decades, but they have never sustained winning. They've never won big. Matt Campbell was able to lift Iowa State to its first major bowl win, Fiesta 2020, and its first top 10 finish. Now, other than that, we see where he elevated the program, got it to that 7-5, 8-4 type status. They went to the 2021 or 2020 Big 12 championship game, almost knocked off Oklahoma. But the next year or two, especially that 2021 season, this is where Matt Campbell could have distinguished himself as one of the very best coaches in college football. But it was a bit disturbing that with all that talent, led by Brock Purdy at quarterback, offensive line's back, Charlie Kohler at tight end, wide receiver, everybody was back on offense. They were loaded. They go 7-6, 4-8. They bounce back. They look better. They play better. They were competitive last year. Matt Campbell's still a really good football coach. I've dropped him a couple spots from 25 to 27. At one point, I thought he was more like a top 15 coach, me and everyone else. But it's been disappointing as of late. I don't know that he's got the opportunity to win big at Iowa State. He's either going to be a lifer there or going to pick his opportunity to move on, and he's going to need a breakout season possibly to do that. At number 27 on our list, Matt Campbell, Cyclones. Great coaches, great leaders take accountability. Following this 2023 football season, Dave Clawson met with the media and said, I'm a 4-8 football coach. Is Dave Clawson a 4-8 football? Of course he's not. He's one of the best football coaches in the game. He's remarkable. They have 5,000 students at Wake Forest. If everyone who's a student at Wake Forest goes to a Wake game, and they would barely fill a corner of the stadium, it's a difficult situation in terms of competing big time. And Wake is probably going to be one of the casualties of this massive realignment and takeover possibility by the SEC and the Big Ten. But Dave Clawson, what he's done at Wake Forest, they went to the ACC championship game in 2021 in the same division with Clemson, Florida State, Louisville, and others, NC State. Yes, they went 4-8 last year, and this shows what a great leader he is because he said, that's on me. I'm a 4-8 football coach. Don't expect it to happen again. Although the challenge in 2024 is pretty massive because you don't have those talent bursts. You can't say, oh, we recruited this amazing class back-to-back 2 and 3 years ago. They're on the way. They're ready to emerge. Or we dipped into the transfer portal, i.e. look all over the country, and we got a left tackle and a quarterback and a shutdown corner. That's not Wake Forest. But Dave Clawson knows what he's doing. He's 5-2 in bowl games. He's 63-61 at Wake. And again, they go to the conference championship game. Our number 26 coach in college football is Dave Clawson, Wake